Now, welcome to the Chapter 2 of the subject, Institutional Correction. This is the part 1. Later on, for the next week, I will be posting part 1 of this area. Okay, we're going to talk about modern concept of penology. Now, talking about punishment, this is the classical concept of penology because penal institutions, penal administrators were very influenced by the classical theory. As we all know, that classical theory talks about um, the mere punishing of an offender. So there were no factors being considered because classic school talks about pain and pleasure. It's been generalized that every time a person commits a crime, they already know the circumstances or the effects of committing the crime. So they're going to scale the pain and the pleasure. If the pain overweights the pleasure, then they are not going to commit a crime. But if the pleasure overweighs the pain, they're going to commit a crime. So bale, kung pagtimbang nila, mas malaki yung pain na ma-experience sila if they're going to be caught, then hindi na nila itutuloy yon. Tapos um, kung mas mabigat yung pleasure na makukuha nila, so itutuloy nila yung crime. Kasi it's either maliit lang yung punishment or magaan lang yung punishment or maliit yung chance na mahuhuli sila. So yung classical concept of penology talks about punishment. But in the modern concept of penology, it talks about treatment. They consider prisoners as sick people. Okay, modern concept of correction is to change the attitude of the offenders, their way of life, so that when they return to the mainstream in the community, they will not become useful members of the society. So bali yung mga criminals, nire-reform lang, binabago yung mga ugali nila. So kapag bumalik na sila sa society, ay useful na sila. They can contribute to the society. The purposes of confinement in the modern concept is to, to reform. Now, these bureaus of correction are responsible in the safekeeping of these prisoners, and they have two purposes of confinement: to segregate them from the society, ihihiwalay sila sa society. So, bali yung mga criminals, yung mga offenders, separate sila sa mga hindi mga offenders, and to rehabilitate them so that upon return to society, they shall be responsible and law-abiding citizens. So, pagkatapos ma-segregate, yung mga na-separate na mga criminals, pinabago yung ugali nila. Nire-rehabilitate, nire-reform yung ugali nila. Okay, the basic principles of correction. It seeks to promote discipline and to secure the reformation and safe custody of inmates. So that is the top priority of correction. Justice shall be applied impartially, without discrimination of race, gender, language, religion, nationality, property owned, and others. So dapat walang bias yung pag-apply ng justice. Justice shall be enforced with firmness, but tempered with understanding. Firmness, dapat hindi talaga naaawa. If deserving talaga niya na mag-undergo ng reformation, dapat i-apply talaga sa kanya yan. But with understanding. Of course, hindi talaga yung parang inaabuso mo na yung tao. o di kaya ay tinitreat mo na hindi na sila mga tao. Okay, in order to lubricate the flow of discussion, we must first define some terms used in this subject. Prison refers to a penal establishment under the control of the Bureau of Corrections or BUCOR and shall include the new Bilibid prisons and other correctional institutions. So, ito palang prison is any penal establishment, any building or any place na ginagawang prison, yun ang prison. A penal establishment, a place of punishment. Tapos, kinokontrol ito ng BUCOR. So, included na ito ng ang new Bilibid prisons at saka yung ibang mga prisons all around the Philippines. So, later on, it will be enumerated kung ano yung mga iba-ibang correctional institutions. Competent authority refers to the Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, Regional Trial Court, Metropolitan Trial Court, Municipal Trial Court, Municipal Circuit Trial Court, Sandigan Bayan, and Military Court, including the House of Representatives, Senate, Commission on Elections, Bureau of Immigrations, and the Board of Pardons and Parole. So these are the agencies the authorized agencies that has the power to send a person to prison. But hindi lang basta-basta sila maglalagay ng tao sa prison. Siyempre, meron diyang due process of law. Inmate refers to a national prisoner or one sentenced by a court to serve a maximum term of imprisonment of more than 3 years to a fine more than 1,000 pesos. Okay, so these crimes and penalties are being defined in the revised penal code. So if your punishment is more than 3 years, so you are already considered an inmate if you are sentenced. A detainee is a person who is confined in prison pending preliminary investigation, trial, or appeal, or upon legal process issued by the competent authority. So kapag yung tao hindi pa nasentensyahan or undergoing pa ang kanyang investigation or trial, so he is a detainee. Hindi siya inmate. Hindi siya prisoner but a detainee. Death convict refers to an inmate whose death penalty is imposed by the Regional Trial Court, which is also affirmed with the Supreme Court and Bank. So, ang isang tao, kapag nakakommit siya ng crime, tapos yung penalty is penalty ng crime na nakommit niya is death penalty, dapat sentenced ito ng Regional Trial Court. Tapos, ini-affirm, parang may secondary demotion yung Supreme Court and Bank. Superintendent refers to the one in charge of prisons. So in every prison, there's always someone who manages it and who is on top of the administration. And these are the superintendents. They oversee and ensure that all the procedures are being applied legally. Dapat walang illegal na ginagawa, especially sa mga tauhan. Now, carpeta refers to the institutional record of inmates, which consists of maintenance commitment order, prosecutor's information, and the decision of the trial court, including appellate court. So, carpeta is the record of an institution of an inmate. Tapos nag-consist siya nitong tatlo. So, This meeting's commitment order, prosecutor's information, and the decision sa trial court will later be discussed. Prison record refers to information concerning an inmate's personal circumstances, offense committed, sentence imposed, criminal case number in the trial, and appellate courts, the date when the service of their sentence commenced, the date when the inmate received Mitimus commitment order for confinement, the place of confinement, the date of expiration of sentence, the number of previous convictions, and the behavior or conduct while in prison. So this is the overall record of an inmate or a detainee while he is still under the care of that penal institution. Now, we're going to talk about jails. So, ano yung kaibahan ng jail at prison? First, jail is a building or a place for the confinement of arrested or sentenced person. So, yung mga naaresto tsaka yung mga sentence, dito inilalagay. It is usually made up of cells, which are small rooms or enclosures where prisoners are actually kept or confined. So ano yung kaibahan? Of course, jail is under the Department of Interior and Local Government. At ang bureau na assign para magbantay sa mga jails is the BJP. Tsaka dito yung in the prisons, it is under the Department of Justice. And yung in charge dito ay ang Bureau of Corrections. Sa jail, dito inilalagay yung mga sentenced prisoners na yung punishment ay not more than 3 years. So, 1 day to 3 years. Sa prison, dito inilalagay yung mga 3 years and 1 day hanggang sa pinakamataas na penalty. At saka sa jail, dito din nilalagay yung mga trial nila ay pending or ongoing or undergoing or ongoing pa yung preliminary investigation at saka yung mga convicted na below 3 years. Sa prison, dito talaga nilalagay yung mga convicted na. So, kung may possibility ka na yung kaso mo is more than 3 years, sa jail ka pa ilalagay. Pero kung convicted ka na, tapos yung penalty mo is more than 3 years, ililipat ka na sa prison. Now, there are different types of jails. First, the most common is a lock-up jail or lock-up cells. It is a security facility for the temporary detention of persons, suspects, and violators of city ordinances held for investigation. One example here is yung sa loob ng police station. Next is the city, municipal, and provincial jails. These houses, offenders are waiting for court actions, naghihintay kung ano yung order ng court, action ng court. Those serving short sentences, usually up to 3 years only, and juvenile offenders pending for transfer to social service agency. So, kasali din pala dito yung mga nahuhuling mga minor de edad na naghihintay na ilipat sa kung paano i-dispose ito ng taga DSWD. Okay. The mission of the Jail Bureau is to direct, supervise, control the administration and operation of all district, city, and municipal jails to effect a better system of jail management nationwide. So, bali, yung control nila, yung jurisdiction nila, kung saan sila mag-administer ng kanilang authority, is yun lang yung sa mga um, jails ng district, city, and municipalities. So, hindi nakasali yung mga prisons kasi under yon sa Bucor or Bureau of Corrections. Jail Bureau objectives. First is to improve the living conditions of offenders in accordance with the accepted standards set by the United Nations. Second is to enhance rehabilitation and reformation of offenders in preparation for their eventual reintegration into the mainstream of society upon their release. And lastly, to professionalize jail services. Their principles is it is the obligation of jail authorities to confine offenders, safety, and provide rehabilitative programs that will negate criminal tendencies and restore their positive values to make them productive and law-abiding citizens. So, parang ni-rehabilitate nila yung mga tao para mawala yung mga maliit, yung mga chances na maging criminal sila ulit. No procedure or system of correction shall deprive any offender of hope for his ultimate return to the fold of law and full membership in society. So dapat wala talaga mga procedures or guidelines yung correctional facility or etong bureau na to na mawawalan ng pag-asa yung isang prisoner. So dapat ano yung ultimate goal nila is baguhin yung buong pagkatao para hindi na siya maging law violator. Unless proved otherwise, any person accused of a criminal offense shall be presumed innocent and his rights as a free citizen shall be respected, except for such indispensable restraints during his confinement in the interest of justice and public safety. Okay, ito yun. Kapag yung tao ay naakusahan, syempre, inosente pa yan. Hindi pa, dapat walang automatic discrimination. Kasi hindi pa siya na sentensyahan ng korte. So, dapat yung mga rights niya as a free citizen ay dapat pa talagang ma-respeto, mabigay sa kanya. Offenders are human beings entitled to the same basic rights and privileges enjoyed by citizens in a free society, except that the exercises of these are limited or controlled for security reasons. Okay. Yung nawawalang karapatan ng tao kapag nakulong siya ay isa lang. Yan yung kanilang yung principle. Yung ibang rights niya dapat nandun pa rin. Okay? Yung rights na nawala niya is right of freedom. Kasi nagkasala siya, kailangan siyang i-separate, pinabantayan, inomonitor yung kanyang paggaling. So, yung mga ibang rights niya, hindi siya binabawalan, pero kinukontrol lang, nilalagyan ng limitation. Health preservation and prompt treatment of illness or injury are basic rights of every person confined in jail. It is a duty of jail authorities to arrange for their treatment subject to security reasons. So, kung ang isa pa lang jail prisoner ay nagkakasakit, dapat may obligasyon yung jail, yung bureau, na bigyan siya ng medical attention. Members of the custodial forces shall set themselves as examples by performing their duties in accordance with the rules and shall respect the laws duly constituted by authorities. So, yung mga jail guards sa penal institution, dapat pinapakita nila kung ano yung dapat na ginagawa ng isang mabuting jail guard. Yan yung uh, sumusunod kung ano yung mga rules and regulations na dapat i-apply sa mga prisoners sa loob ng jail. No jail personnel shall use abusive, insulting, and indecent language on the offenders. So, bawal magmura, bawal murahin. No jail personnel shall use unnecessary force on offenders, except for legitimate self-defense or in cases of attempted active and passive physical resistance. Okay. No penalty shall be imposed upon any offender for violation of rules unless in accordance with duly approved disciplinary procedures. So, kapag yung prisoner pala may nalabag na violation tsaka rules, violations or rules or regulations, yung penalty, yung kaparusahan, dapat isunod yung kung ano yung approved. Hindi yung gagawa ng sariling punishment yung jail officer. Dapat sundin yung kung ano yung approved na disciplinary action. Penalties to be imposed shall not be cruel, inhuman, or degrading. No physical punishment shall be employed as a correctional measure. So, dapat yung palang mga penalties kapag naka-violate ka, dapat hindi cruel, hindi inhuman, hindi yung nakakababa. No physical punishment, so dapat walang physical contact. Members of the force must understand that offenders need treatment and counseling, and the primary purpose of confinement is for safekeeping and rehabilitation. So, dapat yung mga jail guards pala, isa-isip nila na yung mga offenders ay treatment yung kailangan, tsaka counseling, para ma-rehabilitate sila. Kasi yung purpose, bakit nandun sila sa loob ng jail, is para ma-separate sila. So, nasa care ng bureau yung prisoner at saka ma-rehabilitate. When conducting routinely custodial guarding, it could be in a cell or compound, the ratio of 1:7 or 1 guard for 7 offenders shall be observed. So, isang guardia para sa 7 offenders. When an offender is in transit or traveling, the ratio of 1:1+1 for every offender shall be observed. For example, for every 10 inmates, dapat 11 yung guardia na mag-escort. Or for every 20 inmates, 21 yung guard na mag-escort. In case of high-risk offenders that demands extra precaution, additional guards shall be employed. This manning level shall be national in scope for effective jail administration in all regional, provincial, district, city, and municipal jails. Now, here are the functions of the BJMP. First is to formulate the policies and guidelines in the administration of all district, city, and municipal jails nationwide. So here in the top management, they are going to create the policies and guidelines, the rules and regulations in which the lower management and administration will use or follow. They also implement strong security measures for the control of inmates. They also provide for the basic needs of inmates. They conduct activities for the development of inmates. They improve jail facilities and they promote the general welfare and development of personnel. So here, this bureau, these are all their functions. In different levels of management, nag-iiba yung kung ano yung ini-improve nila depending on what is needed. Kasi mahirap naman kung magbigay ka ng um, isang um, isang service sa isang institusyon tapos hindi na pala needed. Just like any other organization, this organization also has their own ideal personnels. So these are the ideal values that they want for their personnels. First is commitment. It is a strong sense of dedication to the ideals of the organization and to the public that it serves. Second is the respect for human rights. So their personnel must respect the human rights and also be committed. So committed in a sense that they are dedicated to um, what the organization aims to do. So these are listed in the vision and mission, the principles, and the objectives of the organization. Efficiency or competence, mastery of important skills for delivery of quality services. So a personnel or an employee of this organization should be a master. Hindi yung ah, maraming pagkakamali o may mga galaw siya na hindi na sumusunod sa proper rules and guidelines. And an employee or a member of this organization should be self-disciplined. So self-discipline is the ability to act regardless of emotional state or the ability to withstand undue and unjust influences. But hindi lang naglimit dyan. Kahit na wala yung superior na niya, wala yung supervisor, tinutupad pa rin niya yung kanyang tungkulin. And also, lastly, is teamwork. The combined effective action of all personnel. So, it talks about the ability of a personnel or a member of the organization to work with other employees or members of the organization in harmony. Hindi yung may mga uh, kinokontra niya yung kapwa employee niya, kapwa trabahante, yung may crab mentality, yung gusto lang niya na siya lang yung umangat. So these are the ideal values, the core values that the organization, that the personnel of the in the organization should have. Administrative jurisdiction. So, Jail Provincial Administrator's Office is headed by a provincial administrator. It should be one for every province. This position oversees the implementation of jail services of all district, city, and municipal jails within its territorial jurisdiction. District jail within large cities or groups of clustered municipalities is headed by a district warden, and in the city and municipal jail, it is headed by a city or municipal warden, and it operates and maintains city and municipal jails. Now, here are the duties and responsibilities of key officers. We're going to start with the highest, which is the Chief PGMP. So, in this position, The chief acts as an advisor to the secretary of the DILG in which this bureau is under, relating to formulation and implementation of policies, plans, and programs with the supervision and control of district, city, and municipal jails nationwide. So in this position, this is where programs and plans are being made and implemented. Parang dito kayo magdi-devise ng mga programs to be approved by the DILG. And once ma-approve yun, then fully implemented na. I-enforce na kaagad yun. So, the Chief PGMP also exercises command, supervision, and control over all personnel of the Jail Bureau. So, under sa kanya lahat ang member sa BGMP. He also administers and implements laws relating to jail management and enforce rules and regulations governing the administration and operation of the Jail Bureau down to its lowest unit. He also recommends to the Secretary rules and regulations and other guidelines which require the department's approval. He also issues directives, instructions, and policies for the efficient implementation of programs. He also appoints new applicants and promotes non-officers rank within the national headquarters and officers rank from jail inspector to superintendent nationwide. So within the national headquarters, siya yung nag-a-appoint at nagpo-promote ng mga hindi mga opisyal. Pero all over the Philippines, from ranks jail inspector to jail superintendent, siya yung nagpo-promote. Siya yung nag-appoint. He also performs such other functions as may be directed by higher authorities. So ano yung mga higher authorities? Of course, the DILG, because he is under the DILG. The Bureau is under DILG. And DILG is directly under the powers of the President. Kasi executive tayo. Tapos yung President ang may executive power na mag-direct. Now, the Jail Regional Director or the RD of the jail supervises, monitors, and controls district, city, and municipal jails within the area of responsibility. So kung saang region naka-assign, doon lang din yung yung scope ng kanyang AOR or area of responsibility. So lahat ng cities, municipalities na nasa loob ng region ng RD ay may jurisdiction siya. He also appoints new applicants and promotes non-officers rank within the area of responsibility. Okay. He also ensures proper and effective utilization of resources in the administration of jails in the region. He implements laws, rules, policies, guidelines, and standards handed down by higher authorities or by the Chief PGMP. He also provides technical advice and assistance on government offices and other agencies regarding jail matters within his jurisdiction. He also performs other functions as the Chief BGMP may direct. So, the Jail Regional Director is directly below the Chief BGMP. So, kung ano yung mga directives, yung mga orders ng Chief BGMP ay siya yung nag-implement, yung RD, yung Regional Director. Now, the Jail Provincial Administrator supervises PGMP jails within the province, and sees to it that all directives, policies, rules, and guidelines are strictly followed. He also performs other functions as a jail regional director may. So the provincial administrator is directly under the regional director. Jail warden or wardress supervises and controls all personnel and inmates in the jail. He or she also implements legal orders, rules, regulations, and directives on jail operation and administration based on the approved rules and regulations. He or she also administers sanctions and other disciplinary actions on inmates or personnel under his command for disobedience or infraction of others. So, siya yung nag-a-apply sa mga punishment sa mga nagkakasala na ano, mga inmates. He also supervises the conduct of Greyhound operations and inspection of jail facilities and premises. So, itong Greyhound operations, ito yung parang kung sa paglilinis ay general cleaning. Talagang grabe, tinitingnan talaga ang bawat sulok kung meron mga contrabands or mga ipinagbabawal na mga gamit sa loob ng selda or jail facilities. He also ensures the security and control of the jail facility and provides inmates' welfare and development programs. Dapat sinisiguro niya yung security ng mga inmates. Dapat separate yung mga magkakaaway para walang magkakasakitan o magkakapatayan. He also promotes the welfare and moral of personnel and inmates. He also assumes responsibility for the formulation and implementation of emergency plans to preclude occurrence of jail incidents and disturbances. So dapat meron na talaga mga plano in case na may mangyayari ng mga disasters or mga emergencies such as sunog. Dapat meron na nakalaang mga guidelines kung paano masiguro na yung mga inmates hindi tatakas. Okay. He also ensures proper utilization of resources and maintenance of facility, supplies, and equipment. So sinisiguro niya na nagagamit talaga yung mga resources at na-maintain yung mga facilities. Hindi yung bibili tayo ng ganito tapos hindi rin pala magagamit. So, dapat sinisiguro nila. He also establishes linkages with the government offices, non-government offices, and or the tri-media. So, in this case, parang nagkakaroon ng extension programs. So, in the case of government offices, pwede rin makahingi ng support yung jail sa government offices para mabigyan naman ng services tulad ng, let's say, pag-aaral, pwedeng magkaroon ng program na may libreng teaching session every once a month yung mga inmates. And in the non-government offices, yung mga religious activities or religious sessions, may mga ganun in the present. He also submits periodic and spot reports, if necessary, to regional offices. So, SOP yun, ibibigay talaga ng report. He also does turnover duties and responsibilities, including supplies, funds, organic equipment, records, and paraphernalia to the incoming jail warden upon relief. So, kapag may magpapalit ng command responsibility, dapat meron talagang proper turning over. So, siya ang gumagawa nun. Kasi yung posisyon niya ang kanyang iiwan. Dapat meron talagang proper turnover sa mga records, sa mga gamit, sa lahat. He also performs other functions as a regional director may direct. Now, here are the different entities authorized to commit a person to jail. So, ito yung mga competent authorities na allowed na magpakulong ng tao. But with so much power, yung nagpo-protect sa mga tao na hindi maikulong yung mga inosente is the law. Law pa rin. Yun yung Bill of Rights, and para din masiguro yung mga rights ng mga accused na hindi talaga mawala sa kanila. At saka meron din naman tayong due process of law. So, binibigyan yung mga accused na marinig yung side nila. So, ang mga agencies is the Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, Sandigan Bayan, Regional Trial Court, Metropolitan or Municipal Trial Court, Municipal Circuit Trial Court, Congress of the Philippines, and all other administrative bodies or persons authorized by law to arrest and or commit a person to jail. Now, we're going to categorize inmates. Kasi hindi naman pwede na yung mga inmates sa iisang lugar lang ilalagay. So, how to categorize? First, in this categorization, we're going to base it on the status of their judgment. Okay, a prisoner is an inmate who is convicted by final judgment. So, kapag na convicted na, isa ka ng prisoner. And kapag hindi ka pa na-convict, undergoing pa yung investigation mo, yung trial mo, or naghihintay ka na lang ng sentensya mo, you are a detainee. So these are the differences between the two. Classification of prisoners based on the penalty. First is the insular or national prisoner, which has an imprisonment of 3 years and 1 day to death. So, eto yung mga nasentensyahan na ang punishment nila is 3 years and 1 day to death, so more than 3 years. Provincial prisoner, an imprisonment of 6 months and 1 day to 3 years. The city prisoner is 1 day to 3 years, and the municipal prisoner is an imprisonment of 1 day to 6 months. Okay. Meron tayong tatlong classification ng detainees: undergoing investigation, awaiting or undergoing trial, at saka awaiting final judgment. It becomes clear here in the inmate security classification kung bakit kailangan may classification. Merong tatlo: the high-risk inmates, high-profile inmates, and the ordinary inmates. Ginagawa nito sila ng classifications para ma-distinguish kung kanino sa kanila yung dapat mas mahigpit na security. Requirements for commitment. First is the commitment order. It is a written order of the court or any other competent authority consigning an offender to a jail or imprisonment for confinement. So, etong commitment order ito, directive, galing sa competent authority, usually by the court, na dapat ikulong itong taong ito. Next is the medical certificate. It is a document signed by a doctor that proves that someone is in good health. Kasi naman, kung may sakit yung tao, of course, uunahin yung kanyang health. Next is the complaint or information. It is a document containing the name of the people of the Philippines and against all persons who appear to be responsible for the offense involved. Next is the police booking sheet. It is the document from the police department registers that includes the charges against a person believed to have violated the law. The process of booking typically includes recording of the inmate's personal information and description, and his photograph or mugshot, and also his fingerprints, and a Department of Justice records check, just to make sure na hindi nawala siya mga other pending cases.